The other things are still left up on the board at this point.
You still got a Valkyrie, or pardon me, you still got a Mira as well as a Thatcher, and
Yeah.
for some reason I have a sinking feeling in my stomach that even with the Thatcher up, teams aren't going to utilize them, and it's going to hurt.
This game is already setting up to be pretty antithetical to what we've known about Chalet games for a long time, so I'm very curious about how we will see this one progress. Oh, feels good to be back on a desk with you, my friend. Feels fantastic. TSM and One Shot, we will begin this matchup. Defending Snowmobile. I'm trying to remember who tweeted a couple of days ago saying, it might have been Guz saying specifically, stop defending Snowmobile. There are plenty of other good sites on Chalet. Stop trying to defend this site. It's just not worth it, or something like that. Guys, you can correct me about what you said later, but I know that especially in North America, this site for the longest time was one that had the worst defensive win rate simply because of the sheer number of avenues that attackers could take to get into it. So we'll see how TSM start out on defense.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is for One Shot with what we've seen of their recent Chalet is that they struggled with aggressive defenses against some of the T3 teams that they were playing against, struggling to get any attacking rounds. And this is the attacking side that they are going forward on. And if you see, what does Achieve bring to the table? He's bringing in Oryx, a very aggressive operator as well, facilitated by the Kona stations of Bolo. You can have this deep extended roam that, sure, maybe Merc and Achieve, they can take a little bit of damage. They can fall back to site and still bolster up enough of a anchorage to hold off whatever time the roamers are not able to kill.
True, true. Merc already going for a spawn peek outside. Is he really going to get this? I don't think there's anyone. There might have been one that spawned. No, 3 of them spawned Campfire, but not quite on the same side. It will not be in his line of sight back from that window, so they will all move away and begin their drone game probably from Garage going all the way up to Solar. You just see how spread thin TSM is at the minute. You see Merc was backed by Solar, but I think it's just, if it may only be Geo or one other player on site or in position to come right back down the stairs, he'll play the aggressive angle, squeak back into connector, so Storms or Swaylin isn't able to get the headshot, but still, seems like everyone on TSM is playing rather loose, and all of them seem like they're in position to get back to the site if it comes down to it in an emergency.
Yeah, because the biggest thing would be Bolo inside of Kitchen facilitating, and if you don't go through Bolo, you probably can't get the cutoffs over towards Achieved and Merc. And now West Main Staircase, that could be a potential flank avenue that Quartz is trying to cut off. The use of the Lion, it should help strong on the flank watch, but if you have somebody like Merc on that, what is it, the ERC scanner?
I believe so, yeah.
Something like that. He can be immune, and he can just run straight through and potentially catch one-shot attackers off guard. Even though West Main, it's one of the most difficult flanks to pull off in the entire game, and as Achieved, he was kind of ratting out over towards Coach.
Yeah, interesting. He likes this mudroom spot, it seems like. I don't know how long he'll stay there, though. He also can scamper right down blue stairs if it's required, but Merc is also about a floor down. Everyone on TSM is deciding to play upstairs, and they need it, and both Bolo and Merc finding kills within 2 seconds of one another, disrupting some of that potential play. It comes down to One Shot executing or trying to execute from Boiler into Wine, but that's really all that's left. If they were doing something outside Garage Door, that entire take has been quelled because there's also an Electric Claw still up there preventing entry without being detected.
Yeah, an Electric Claw could have been taken care of by EMP that a certain British man could have brought, but he's absent as Geo's going to take down Slippery. It just seems to get worse and worse on the side of One Shot's attack. It's just Storms, it's just Kilo left alive. They don't have a whole lot of time to work with, as well as Bolo up above on this hatch, denying their entryway.
Wow, that's 3 players from TSM upstairs. Storms will find Bolo on the hatch, but Chala takes him down before he can find another bullet in his magazine. It comes down to Kilo. 2 bearing 9 kills. Oh my god, he's woken up. He's come to play. But there's still 2 more TSM players that have to be dealt with. He may have the opportunity to get the diffuser down, but both Achieve and Geo are working in tandem. This might be a bit of a spacing problem if Kilo can catch them both napping at the same time, but he might have also given his position away from the use of said Thunderbird Kona station, so he'll have to play this one immaculately. Does kill Achieve, turns into a 1v1. This one might just happen for Kilo. He's looking for the last player. Pings are coming out. He does have intel, but Geo, all he has to do is stop this denial. Comes right off the plant again. In round number 1, it's all denied instead. It's Geo finding the clutch stopper, and TSM put themselves on the board first.
You know, I was really starting to become a believer. As soon as Kilo whipped out that bearing 9, there's something about that secondary weapon in clutches that is just synonymous with success. However, and I guess kind of favorably for the side of TSM. They didn't throw a 1v4. That would have been a heartbreaker for sure, or a heart maker if you're a one-shot fan.
I was just way too close off the rip, dude.
Come
on, man.
Way too close off the rip. And hopefully this is kind of a tempo setter for this game, as we've been waiting so long to get in here and cast some action, being treated with a beautiful round 1. Almost clutch. Seems kind of earned. I don't want to necessarily say, but
what do you mean earned?
we have earned this by waiting.
I guess you're right. You've seen everyone on Twitter over the past little bit being like, please, we want these games. We finally got these games. And Gio's putting on a show already. 2 kills off the rip for him. It was nice because we saw 3 different players from TSM playing in offsite spots. Bolo had the hatch drop that he could have made essentially whenever he felt like it. He just trying to stall things out from Car Garage and Boiler side. We saw Merc off the map. We saw Achieved off the map. Everyone was able to come back if need be, but it turned into the one guy who essentially wasn't roaming in Gio that made sure that that round was not clutchable in the end, despite how close Kilo came.
Yeah, a lot of the struggles of one-shot historically have been in the utility game, but last round it was the full roam clear, kind of just the gunfight game, where they weren't able to take any map control comfortably. They were scared of the roam. They were trying to bypass it by any means necessary, just going for the direct wine take, and it really wasn't successful, even if that round was close. That is not a round in one-shot's mind that they're thinking like, man, we should have had that one. This was Kilo going on a heroic arc and almost pulling that one back.
The fact that there's a Nomad ban on the board too means that that kind of super loose play is something that one-shot simply can't account for on their attacks. They have brought 0 for 2 rounds in a row, which may be there to help supplement it a little bit, but if someone from TSM decides to play offsite, play a deep roam, especially given the way that you play Chalet, that's going to be a huge issue. So the fact that Nomad is off the board is something we will have to pay attention to, given the way TSM already seem to be playing this one out.
Yes, and the biggest thing, once again, is facilitating in with the Maverick means that you kind of don't need any additional hard breach. Just rocking with a Habana as well as the hard breach gadgets and Maverick, it should suffice. Chalet isn't a super kind of hard breach intensive map. It's not a clubhouse, it's not an Oregon. Kind of you only have the basement, which really requires any hard breach, and maybe the most you can see is all the way on the top floor, maybe the office wall, sometimes the kitchen wall if you want to go for those takes instead of the alternative over towards the solar side. But as everything stands for the side of one shot, they're trying to take kind of a whole map approach for this bar gaming defense. And for them, that means push in through kitchen, go a little bit horizontally. Once again, they're not trying to challenge this top side. They're trying to go direct.
Yeah, that top side challenge would be interesting because Gio is in position to drop the hatch back into bar. He's up in library, and that's not really where you'd think you'd position your smoke, but I like the potential aggressive nature if that's where they want to play this. Bolo very nearly loses his life upstairs, but Achieve will be the first one off the board because of Slippery's nade, and Bolo will heal himself back up from the Kona stations, but there's a very slow approach happening in this site right now. Chala back on the Frost, this operator that we've known him to clutch up on or come close to so many times, will need to be wary of the one-shot player who's now in the other objective. Storm's about to give his position away, so maybe that might prompt Chala to go back towards the doorway, but for the moment, he will stand firm, but Slippery will still be the one to cut him off. 3v5 now as TSM might need to start rotating some of their forces back. Merc and Swayland about to get caught in their own gunfight in a second. He could swing up blue, and he does. So now Quartz and the rest of One Shot can take firm control of this site. Slippery finishes off Gio, and it's just Bolo upstairs, the off-site player. Kilo comes right back into blue. He'll have the opportunity to plant on the B bomb chassis, and it turns into Bolo in a 1v5. What looked like an interesting defensive setup gets picked apart by One Shot's gunplay, and Storms makes it a flawless round for One Shot. We're all tied up.
Yeah, the top floor was pretty bog standard. However, just kind of the mid-round adaptation from the side of One Shot to drone out the top floor and be like, hey guys, let's not do that.
Yeah.
Let's not do what TSM wants us to do. And let's make sure that we speed it up just enough where there was a massive stall factor in round one that allowed the kind of roamers that were all the way upstairs to start pressuring in towards the first floor as opposed kind of on their way back to the basement. And when you stall out, that's where the defense can start getting reads and know exactly where you're coming from, as opposed to about a minute and 30 seconds in, Slippery just manages to crouch walk his way into sight and cause a lot of mayhem.
1-1, I like the pace. I also like the fact that TSM are not going to run a side back. They'll go right through their own rotation, avoiding top floor, which I do think Makes a lot of sense. Default rotation might be top floor down to basement in ranked play, but in North American comp, you don't see the site played out nearly as frequently as there are, again, several avenues of approach that you wouldn't have to worry about instead. TSM like to play vertically. They like to play roamers above the site wherever possible, and if they have the space to allow some of those off-site players to flex a little bit more, they're going to give them that opportunity. We keep on seeing a lineup that can be very mobile. There isn't a single one-speed on this defensive lineup for TSM, so they will continue to flex around a little bit if it suits their needs. No more smoke on this site, though it can be argued it probably isn't nearly as potent, and still a lot of flexibility on TSM side, which, because we've been seeing those inconsistencies from them over the past like 6 months or so since like stage 2 days, we might be focusing a lot on how they play simply because we've had massive question marks for a long time, and One Shot have been pretty stalwart in their operator compositions since they've been formed.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for One Shot now is, like you were saying, there's no smoke on the side of TSM. If this read is made properly, this becomes the point where it can be a really easy attack. Get lobby control, breach both walls, which one of them is already soft on the top side. Make sure that the roamers that are upstairs kind of have to fall back through solar, or yeah, over towards the solar stairs and trophy. Put somebody on the trophy window, breach down inside a lobby, and go for a plant. All you have to do is stop nitros, and you can shoot those away, and there's only 2 of them on the side of TSM. One on Bolo, who's upstairs, and one on Achieved with the pulse running around. The hatch, I noticed it wasn't opened yet. It probably will be later on, because that is the easiest way to stop the kitchen door plant. And if not, that might be a massive oversight on the side of TSM.
A couple of red pings, and they understand the rotate positions that TSM also have upstairs, so it'll be down to One Shot to clear these out first. Bolo, he does have the rotate back, and Slippery will still take out Merc downstairs. No, that's up top, so instead, it becomes Bolo essentially by himself if he's already not made a rotate down, but the intel from Pulse downstairs can give him a little bit of a lifeline if used appropriately. Bolo, upstairs inside mezzanine, a little bit of a fallback position, might be able to surprise his opponent, the Maverick, on the balcony instead, but he also does now have support from Gio the Jaeger in the event that One Shot make this push the way they probably should. I think we're at a point where if One Shot wanted to get aggressive, they could, but they're still relying on intel and drones before they make their final push in.
Yeah, having a man advantage is something very, very strong, and for One Shot, they want to keep it. As these defenders keep on starting to fall off, they're slowly gathering map control and making sure that their flanks are covered, because they don't have a just set it and forget it air jab too with the Nomad Band. The sledge work up above, that's Slippery's job. He's going to make sure players like Achieved as well as Chalet, they don't have any comfortable positions to sit inside of, as the rest of these players, Bolo and Gio, they're going to have to start getting active. Oof. They're going to have to start making something happen. That's what Chalet is all about on the defensive side, and Bolo's going to prove that correct. He'll take down Swaylin, down goes the map. More importantly, down goes some nades. That could have been a great transitionary tool.
Slippery the one now looking for these long angles, trying to get someone from TSM off of all of this crazy space that they've created for themselves. I didn't really expect Goyo to win that fight. Bolo, worse for wear off the engagement, but he came away with his life. With 30 seconds left, it might be One Shot making their approach now, but how is TSM going to hold Bolo down up top? A teammate taken down with him. It's just Gio and Achieve, but now it's only Gio by his lonesome, and Storms with the rest of One Shot cleans house. Very nearly a flawless round. They came super close at the end, and they made it a super clean execute, but it was just off gunplay. I saw hardly any utility needed to get that to happen.
Yeah, this is 2 rounds in a row now that One Shot have managed to just appear inside the bomb site.
Seems like it.
And for them, it's working. That's the aggression that we see out of One Shot constantly. In TSM, they're going to have to adjust to it. Sure, on this basement bomb site that we've already seen them bring out this strat, the kind of little bit of roam going through, as well as the Thunderbird on Bolo playing inside a kitchen. The 6th pick will go onto the Oryx once again, as feigning a castle is like, hey, on our roam, it's not going to be as loose. It's going to be more structured. We're going to maybe facilitate some castle barricades up top, and maybe for One Shot, they're like, huh, what's happening? They have 2 roams on Garage?
True.
No, it's going to be the same one coming out. With the nice aquatic movement of Achieved as well as Merc kind of being free-flowing upstairs, and Bolo to hold some cutoff to make sure that they don't get absolutely wrecked if they come down back.
So far through 3 rounds, this is still TSM's map selection. Here's my concern. The one round that they won came off of a clutch from Geometrics, and that was kind of all they had. If you win rounds only because one player is able to kind of save your skin at the end of it, that might be concerning for how TSM is focusing on this match in particular. One Shot could have been up 3-0 were it down to Kilo winning that 1v1 at the very end of round number 1. But TSM are still here, and I'm not super confident in their play. I like what they're doing. I like that they're playing loose, and they're not keeping everyone congested close to the site. They're allowing their players freedom to move around as needed and keep One Shot guessing. But One Shot, credit where credit is due, are also keeping TSM guessing about where they're coming from. They're understanding TSM might be stretching themselves a little bit too thinly and giving One Shot the opportunities to move in essentially as they please.
Yeah, and the biggest thing so far is that their traditional entry players, both Quartz and Slippery, even Storms sometimes, they aren't really playing any entry operators. We're seeing an entry sledge out of all things from Slippery.
He's taking notes from Palu right now.
Yeah, this is some old Team Liquid stuff. That's, I guess applied onto Chalet, which maybe more or less a newer map. But as the kind of peaks going through, Merc almost loses his life through 2 floors with a nade. But he's going to start rotating back as he's feeling pressure. Nobody's on the trophy window, so he has solar control. He can get back and rejoin his teammate Bolo inside of Tiny. As Slippery's starting to knock on the door of sight.
Might be an interesting flank if Merc wanted to come right down onto Slippery there. Bolo, I'm not sure he wants to use the Nitro on the hatch currently. He may need to in the event that someone makes a push through. Instead, Achieved will be the one to bailiff it open, so he keeps that utility in his back pocket. And I'm still curious about the flank from Merc if he were to come down bottom west main and maybe catch the sledge napping if he came through. Kilo also in a position, but he's got coverage from Slippery in case someone comes down the hallway. But again, One Shot open up the kills. No more Merc as that flank has been completely dispatched, and it turns into what Storms is capable of doing in the midst of this smoke. He has Chalet to worry about, but is another player back in blue. So still, the stalling tactics from TSM could work out pretty well, but on this site, it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing would be, is somebody going to hit blue? Is somebody going to hit the back? Or are they just going to push straight through as Chala falls at the hands of Kilo once again? It's a 3v5 situation with a minute left on the clock. A very good situation for One Shot's attack. They can just Mav open this wall. That's why Swalin's on the Maverick. No Thatcher necessary. No need to throw a nade inside the bomb site and get that electrical off the wall. It's just nice and easy. Draw a square, make an entryway into the site.
A little bit of an equalizer as Bolo knocks off Kilo, and he's back in connector. He's relinquished his spot upstairs. Achieved still is upstairs because of that quick hatch rotation ability that Oryx possesses, but it might be a question about how TSM, again, can just stall for time. These drones will now understand where these TSM defenders are sitting. Bolo back in connector is now a known commodity. He's kind of trapped. One nade, if it's available, and Swalen does have one, could take him out of commission, but Slippery very nearly loses his life. Quartz upstairs will get dispatched by Achieved, so this roam still might work out in their favor. Bolo trying to run cover. Down goes Storms, but Swalen's still planting. 1 HP is all Slippery's got left. Achieved on this roam. It was completely unaccounted for, and now it's just Slippery. Bolo around from Pillar will shut things down, so 2 rounds up for TSM, and both of them have been this bomb site.
Yes, and sure, the basement, you said it was not very good. I disagree. It's a good bomb site. And the way the TSM are playing it is proper. Waste so much time on the roam and live so rent-free in the head of the attackers that they don't know what to do with the map control that they have. They were so scared of that west main flank. They had 2 people watching it. They had a drone as well as Quartz just hard holding it. And when you have so many players allocated to one singular flank, your push becomes very unilateral. Sure, they had the main garage breach. It was open, but they didn't do anything with it. That entire side of the map over towards blue and bar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was open. They could have had somebody rotate over and hit blue late, have sort of feign some phantom pressure in different directions. But when you're so worried about where is Achieved, we don't know where he is. You can't have that little bit of spice to your attack that really lets it push through fully.
It's a slight risk to take both an Oryx and a Vigil and have them push from the same spot, but it worked because One Shot thought, well, we killed the Vigil on the west main flank, probably don't have to worry about that spot anymore. But no, Achieved is still upstairs, he's still playing Oryx, and he wreaked havoc in that round. So it's nice that TSM are trying to think one additional step ahead of their opponents. They're like, okay, there can't possibly be 2 people like attempting to push or staying up top for that long, and it is Achieved upstairs for exactly that long. So TSM up now on bar yet again, so they're running back through the exact same composition of rounds that they did on the first part of this defense. I'm curious about how they make adjustments from what was a flawless round for One Shot back in round 2 on the same site, though.
I guess the biggest thing would be, hey guys, let's worry about Kitchen. Let's worry about Slippery managing to crouch walk his way all the way into the bomb site about a minute into the round without dealing with any roam. If that is fixed on the side of TSM FTX, I assume that this defense will go a lot better. Because sure, bar, it has its weaknesses, but if you aren't able to clear that top floor utility, typically the defense can leverage those power positions into a way to completely shut you down. That necessarily wasn't the case because TSM, They weren't using their vert holes up above to try to deny the bomb site. They were instead trying to rotate in, take gunfights with one shot, and they got steamrolled.
Might be an opportunity for Achieve to get pinched down here between a rock and a hard place, or between a drone and an attacker operator if one comes through main, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. Swaylin downstairs could be a troublemaker if he wants to come up west main and potentially deal with the Saruni. They're trying to roam clear right now, and I think this is the smart strategy from one shot, given the way that TSM have been free-flowing around this map thus far. It's multiple drones that have been removed as Chief continues to waste time upstairs. Maybe a nade cook from Slippery, but he will instead pull this back. And across the map, we are also seeing the way in which this potential setup might come through for one shot, but it's all down to how long Achieve can last for. Player inside trophy, he's very nearly dead. Swaylin is going toe-to-toe with him. Achieve will knock Slippery out of the equation and get away with his life.
Wow!
Achieve manages the heist of the century and gets away with it. You'll lose your sledge, and Swaylin doesn't get a single kill in that engagement.
And now Achieved, he's boxed in inside a garage, but he understood he was a dead man as soon as he got pinched out, and somehow he managed to survive. And every second that he burns right now is so incredibly impactful because they still don't know where he is. They have to drone him, they have to pinch him once again, and if another player falls, it would be horrible. However, at the end of the day, Swaylin will kind of stop that reign of terror that Achieved have, definitely living on borrowed time, but that time was borrowed from one shot, and it's going to hurt.
A minute remaining, and it took 2 minutes to clear Achieved out, which is the majority of One Shot's forces. At the end of the day, it took 3 players to clear him. They do it, but at what cost? 2 players, with Habana and the Zero, attempting to work out upstairs now, and Merc and this library pressure might just be their next objective, but again, time is of the essence, and it is One Shot's enemy. The potential for a hatch drop here also exists. Frost has no idea that she's been droned, so Chalet in the corner, his position has been given away, and Swaylin can work his way back up, at least take the bar stock angle if nothing else, but Bolo is about to make Storms pay. Might have another kill if Habana were to come right back through the same avenue, but instead, it's about to be a 1v1 with the Nook, but Bolo looks away at the last second. The two of them can't come to terms. Swaylin takes out Chalet, his position given away. This might actually turn into a one-shot round after all, simply because of the Nook play. Merc upstairs does down the diffuser. That might be the death knell right there. Fragnated will come right up through. Instead, ADS. Diffuser still in the doorway, picked up by Swaylin. He's going to run, try for a plant. Does Quartz have the ability to cover? It may not matter. And instead, the hatch drop secures it for TSM. So much time wasted, and One Shot can't pick up the pieces.
Yep, Merc from the top ropes. Like I was saying, utilizing those top-down angles is incredibly impactful towards stopping the site entry, and it worked out in full favor for TSM FPX. Now they take the lead, and they've gotten a pretty dang good defensive half. A 3-3 split?
Yeah.
That's a thumbs up in their eyes, and they're looking to potentially even make this a 4-2. However, last time we saw this bomb site, it wasn't necessarily pretty for them.
Nah, it wasn't. Again, that was a case in TSM's favor where they allowed 2 rounds to slip through their fingers in quick succession. They have shored this up, though. So if they were to go right back to kitchen and have the same mentality that they had about time wasting that existed in the previous round, then hopefully they will see a repeat on the round count, and a 4-2 half up on this map in particular, I think is going to be great for them, because on Chalet, the attacking side, it still is relatively considered the preferred side, at least in North American statistics. So if TSM can go up 4-2, all they need is 3 more rounds on what is the preferred side on Chalet, and they should hopefully be able to put this bad boy away.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, when you don't have the, well, my, it's interesting, but I think even with One Shot banning out, being the ones to ban out the Nomad, I don't necessarily know if TSM are going to be able to adjust to it as much as they have. Running the Lion as well as the Zero, it is kind of going all in on your flank watch and allocating 40% of your operator lineup to making sure that these crazy plays can't happen. And Achieve is still able to pull some of them off.
Yeah, still. The fact that you wasted 2 minutes on one roam and then had to...
You had to put 3 people on him.
Yeah. They had to clear him first, then they have to go to library. That entire setup for TSM was done really well, and wouldn't have been a problem if they just killed the Chief. And
he was on his Mamba mentality mode.
We miss you, Kelby. We miss you very much. Round 6, we'll see what the approach vector looks like for One Shot. They have kept the Nook in their back pocket. They like this. I think that sneak is going to be beneficial. It very nearly won them the last round. It came down to a scenario where, because they had no idea where the Nook was positioned, in addition to Storms' intel on Zero, that's a really nutty combo if used effectively.
Yeah, and I guess another thing would be the Rooney being brought this time. Those the Surya gates being allocated over towards Solar means that more utility has to be brought forward to that side for one shot. Because if you recall last time, Slippery just repelled in the window and killed somebody not looking at him in Master because he's an absolute madman. With a Master extension on the vertical side, with nothing allocated over towards the Solar stairs, is a bit of a perplexing setup that I haven't seen that often, definitely not work that often. Typically you see a lot of ADSs, maybe even mine magnets over towards that area with somebody kind of holding and eventually having to be naded out. But with TSM removing the Womai, trying to simplify the utility game just a bit, that's not really possible. Instead, they're kind of bringing that setup over towards Master, facilitating the hatch drop if absolutely necessary. Just kind of holding and waiting.
So far, it looks like One Shot want this Solar take more than anything they've ever wanted in their lives. And they do finally clear Bolo out of that power position, so it means Kilo and Slippery have top Solar control. There doesn't seem to be a flank in position to take advantage of that just yet. There may be one very late, but it would have to be very late. And that frag grenade does not take out the castle barricade. Merc's in a bad spot in the closet, but he will still nab Slippery in the process. That's a fight you don't want to lose, but still, it looks like bodies are falling all over the scoreboard. Merc has this spot and Diffuser top Solar, so One Shot now are on a recovery mission to go back and grab this thing. They might get away with it, and Merc might allow him to just get the Diffuser, try to plant, and then storm back up the stairs off of a bait, but it's going to be interesting simply because of where it's down. TSM have totally repositioned.
Yeah, they know that kind of a trophy side execute is going to be a requirement, or at least a hatch drop. There's only 40 seconds left on the clock, so no time for a full audible on the side of One Shot, as it's going to kind of have to be just on this one side. Holding the long angle from the bomb chassis, that's going to be Chalet, as well as Quartz might creep his way up West Main in conjunction to the chaos that's brought forward on the trophy side with players like Swaylin and Storms trying to hit the site.
Chala's going to hold firm right here on the B-bomb site. He's got a Chief down there with him. Quartz might need to make a move inside. Instead, Chala about to be the clutch master. That's 2 kills. 1 for Merc, 1 for Chala. All falling upon Quartz. He's got the DMR in pocket, but 2 players looking right at him. 1 now left. It's just Chala around the bomb chassis. Can he clutch this one out? A game of cat and mouse right around the kitchen table, and TSM survive. Quartz can't find him. That's 4 rounds up for TSM FTX. Very well played in spite of a strong 1S start.
Yeah, for this defensive half for TSM, you have to almost breathe a sigh of relief because 2 of those rounds were absolute clenchers. They did not know that they were going to win. 2 of them going down to the very, very bitter end. Barely any time left on the clock in a 1v1. Nothing gets your heart racing as much as that. And the absolute giga chad of Chala just sitting, playing cat and mouse, not peeking, understanding that he can play that position as much as he wants. That's experience.
How many times have we seen that man clutch on that operator on this map in particular?
At least once.
At minimum, maybe twice, maybe more. It just feels like Frost Chala on defense on Chalet is a match made in heaven. The 1.5 getting removed from the gun does make things a little bit more complicated, but still, he is putting up an incredible performance so far. Even though it's only 2v5, that 1 round does not care about his stats because they won the darn thing. So how many kills the Desi has does not matter in the slightest.
Nope, the good old-fashioned eye test. If it looks like they're playing well, then they probably are. Who cares about numbers? They're overrated. I'm sure Jesse is kind of like just, he felt just a shudder. Because, oh, he's talking about numbers? Not in a good way?
There's a shiver going down his spine right now.
He's going to roll over in his grave eventually. But
wow. Are you going to kill Jesse? Is that what you're doing right now?
No, I'm not going to.
Do it in ranked, which would be really funny. Is there a way that we can like queue into you in a rank stack at some point?
It probably would be pretty easy.
You have permission to queue snipe me if I'm queued with him.
Okay, sounds good.
Because then that would be really funny.
But now we have, finally, the defensive side for One Shot. And guess who they're bringing for the first time, even though she was left unbanned?
Ooh.
We're seeing Amira. And just like I said, I thought would happen, Thatcher left unbanned is still not being brought by either team.
Something, we don't need Thatcher in our compositions anymore, so why waste a ban on it? And instead, put it towards something different. The argument can be made Thatcher is such a potent operator that you would want to bring it if you're still up, but teams at this point are super used to not worrying about it, so if they don't have to play with it, why not play something like Merc with an F2, a better gun, and the ability to get stuff off of walls? So there are options here that TSM can utilize, and we also are having our questions answered a little bit about who is still playing what. Double Hardbreed set on this map still does make sense, but again, we're seeing Geo back on those stage 2 roles. This just feels right.
Yeah, he's just a very good support player, so why waste him anywhere else? If you can get frags on the harder weapons, then just let him do it.
Sure.
Let him do his thing. Let him get the bomb down, and let him try to open up walls that's actually going to be shut down by Slippery, just removing those X-Kairos pellets on that reinforcement that's facilitating this top mezzanine hold. Sure, Merc, he's going to be tossing in a whole bunch of Twitch drones to try to get rid of those mirror windows, but they're going to be cut down immediately by Swainland, kind of really trained towards the floor, understanding that, hey, that mirror window, it's going to be pretty important for our hold. It's allowing a lot of strong power positions to be played right now, and guess which counters mirror? Twitch. Let's make sure that those Twitch drones don't do their job.
How fast library can be obtained here might be the catalyst that how quickly this round can also play. And there's the mirror dead off rip. Already that crutch cannot be relied upon, but there is an answer. Both Swaylin and Kilo finding one, but Swaylin cannot stop Slippery from dying in the process. And Chalet will be the one to clean him up. So a little bit of the finger boost remaining, but that should be eliminated right there. It is, so no more health boost is still up, and Bolo is not able to do any of that from the grave anymore. So if someone gets down, they're probably down for good at this point in the round. And so far, library control, still something that these guys are focusing on. Both Sledge and Habana upstairs still trying to make sure that it's safe to take in the first place, but Quartz is going to make that life a little bit harder for them. Still back behind a mirror window inside Barstock means he can hold this position for a while, so the possibility of a plant looks pretty slim unless he can get cleared out here.
Yeah, this is a go for frags kind of moment, unless there's something interesting happening over here. But Kilo, he's shooting right up the holes, and he's not going to lose because Achieved has the high ground. It's now man advantage into the side of TSM's attack, and they know somebody's inside of stock. I don't know if there's an ADS in that position. He could be easy fodder for a nade. That would be if Achieved had one. Instead, it's going to have to be a good old-fashioned run straight in. And it's going to be a trade both ways. It's a 1v1 situation once again. Swaylin versus Chalet. Swaylin knows where he's coming from, and he's going to deliver the final decisive blow. One shot, they bounce back on their defenses.
I was a little bit worried that Chalet was about to sprint right into it with his gun down. We were about to have another why are you sprinting moment, but it's not to be. SMG-11 rings true, competes with the AK-12 and puts it in the grave. So far, one shot on their defense looking good, but it had to be a little bit of defensive positioning ingenuity in order to get that to happen. The late flank, 2 kills from that SMG-11 on Fireplace completely disrupts that take, and it was a 3v2 with about 40 to 30 seconds remaining, so the fact that they pulled that one off in spite of being a man down is still pretty nice to see.
Well, you can have a man down if you have a man named Swaylin on your team. Going to go absolutely massive. Sure, he's playing a little bit more aggressive on the attacking side, but as soon as the roles switch to the defense, most of the time he likes to roam. He likes to roam. And whether it be on a smoke, whether it be on an Oryx, both of them kind of the same mentality of get him off site, get him where his gun is hot, and get him in positions that's going to really make TSM regret pushing into him.
True. You're not wrong in the slightest. I don't think that was the wrong call from TSM overall in terms of how to take that. It's just the one late flank. The thing you can't account for sometimes is someone being out of position. You can drone as often as you want. You can bring a zero. You can bring additional offensive intel. But even in cases like that, it's just one player disrupting your entire game plan. So now it comes down to TSM's response. Still had a good idea for that take overall. Still only 3 rounds away from clinching their map pick in this series. Not the end of the world on the back of something like that. And Chalet, he's back up to 2 kills by himself in that game. So everyone's stats kind of seeming where they should be, I think, for both squads.
Yeah, and for the side of one shot, they're really spreading it evenly. Where I guess for Geo it's a little bit behind, but in that same notion that Quartz is a little bit ahead. Nobody's really a weakness right now.
So.
Nothing's too crazy.
No one's handicapping their team.
Yeah, nobody's handicapping. Nobody's really hard carrying. Besides, if you want to say Quartz is doing pretty well,
he is.
He is definitely. And as we're transitioned over to this kitchen bomb site, there's not really a whole lot of pushback upstairs as Kilo runs right past Merc holding a flank in a quite perplexing intel mishap.
I'm trying to figure out how that happened. The drone came in late,
that's
so
that's some rough timing.
They at least know where he is now, but they have to completely readjust their attacking strategy to compensate, which might be a problem, but still, 2 minutes left, plenty of time. Need to get some bodies from one shot off the board before approach, and that might take a little bit. Merc on the F2. I'd love to see him start fragging out, become the F2 warrior we know he is in a situation like this. I'm assuming that's the Thatcher substitute in this case, in particular. Everyone else on this map, I kind of think you need, especially since the meta right now in NA still kind of requires Finka play more often than not, kind of channeling some Spirits vibes right here. I like the way that this is being approached, but still, no one yet from one shot has been killed. Kilo is still in a position to wreak havoc up top. unless he's made the rotate, and it's also Slippery holding on to the power position inside office. He's got the main wall reinforced. He could hold here for a little bit longer, and his job isn't trying to deny a little bit later. He finally will get taken down with one Toxic Babe left in his pocket. Bolo gets him, but still, minute and 15 seconds. How do TSM FTX now rearrange themselves?
I think you were saying Slippery was holding that position. No, no. The mute jammer on the door was holding that position. They could not get the Twitch drone in to remove the mute jammer off of the main breach. And now, since Slippery is gone, you can just peel right back up, shoot the good old-fashioned mute jammer, and now shoot the other one. Get the breach open, and now start working over on the top side. Have somebody like Achieved with that sledgehammer start dropping it. Do the DIY renovation that would go very well on a TV show. But there's also a Nitro right above, and Storms, he narrowly misses with the timing, and he'll drop all the way down to the basement, and Quartz will fall at the hands of Gio.
So far, Bolo is going to solo join himself, probably back down Solar. Kilo, oh no, he kills Storms! That's just a reflexive flick. He didn't mean to do that, but it might mean TSM FTX gets their 5th round on accident. Swaylin, can he find a way to deny? He might have one kill upstairs, but Merc is going to flick all the way back around. Kilo, he's already trying to apologize. I'm sure the team is incredulous, but that's a 5th round for TSM FTX.
Yep, and that was once again the intel. Merc looked like he knew exactly where the flank was coming through, and for the side of Swaylin, that's just a rough position to be in. You're in a 1v4, 1v5, and you got to try to get something going, and if you can't retake the top floor, you're probably not going to be able to retake the round anyway, so I guess no wasted effort, no impactless frags on his side to pad his stats.
True.
Instead, it's going to be TSM padding their stat that actually matters, the score up at the top.
Bro, man, it just makes you wonder what that round would have looked like if it was potentially clutchable, if Kilo doesn't team kill there.
It was a nice shot, though.
If you're going to do it, at least do it in style. Nah, the entire round composition I do think could be different. I don't want to harp on him too much. I definitely, things like this do happen. It was a good shot regardless, but still, TSM 2 rounds away from putting their own map in the grave and preventing one shot from taking it out from under them, giving them a good, strong series start. They also haven't lost a map yet so far in this bracket, and they would like to keep things that way. A nice, strong showing before they would potentially head to SI if they were to win this whole thing. I do think what you do in this series and this entire bracket matters a lot. Even if you get to SI, regardless of who wins, how you get there is also super pivotal, because these guys did not qualify via SI Global Standings points. They had to fight and claw their way through there, which means some things in the regular season weren't working out appropriately. So if you have a good showing this weekend and then you go to Stockholm, hopefully, you put some fear in the opponents in your group.
Yeah, they're choosing to take the path of most resistance.
True.
They want to truly earn it.
Forged by the fire and flames.
Exactly. And for whatever team comes out on top, they might just have that little bit of extra fear factor. And for TSM, if they come out and go completely flawless, that definitely will instill over towards all of their opponents in whatever group. They should be in Group C, correct?
Yeah, the winner of this one will go into that 3rd group, which I'm trying to remember offhand who's in there. I think it's Furia, Elevate, BDS, and one more that I'm not remembering offhand. But that still is a very stacked lineup. So whichever one wins this one is going to have a pretty tall task in front of them going to Stockholm in the first place. We'll see how easy they make things for themselves. Bolo, first kill on Storms. He can't do anything for the rest of this matchup, and Quartz is holding on to Solar with his life. He's got an ADS next to him that could get burned in a second. Kilo nabs Chalet from across the map. But oh no! The team kill's been repaid. Bolo takes Merc out. He got it in the same spot as last round, and Quartz scampers back upstairs. He's got ADS coverage with him now. Gio might be the only one in position to clear him, but he might not be able to. Bolo's going to try to help out a little bit. That's just unfortunate mistiming.
Wow, I never thought we would see blue on blue right after orange on orange inside the top of the west main staircase. It is just a cursed area.
What is it with CCS and Deja Vu? I'm not going to bring that joke back.
But as everything stands, TSM, they have to fight this uphill battle. They only have 1 nade remaining, and Gio is going to be the one bringing the hard breach because, unfortunately, Chalet, he left this plane a little bit too early.
Taken from this world too soon. May he rest in peace.
Yep.
He'll be back next round, Chad. He's not dead, but
Yep.
he's dead for now, so we have to contextualize this. That's
Yeah, rotating over towards the window is a play that I really like. Typically, when you have a man disadvantage, window play is typically what gets nicked first.
Ooh.
As Swalin's also going to fall at the hands of Gio. Bolo, he walks up the staircase in that window play once
crosses.
again. That's going to get that beautiful refrag, keeping it all even. Hilo, he doesn't have a whole lot of HP to his name, neither a Nitro, but Slippery, he's going to take out Achieved as he swings on that window. And it's just up to Gio, who's going to try to plant this Dom down.
Maybe not quite yet. Pull off of it, start looking for heads if they present themselves, knock out some cover. Through the rotate, again, he's kind of entering One-Shot's domain. They've rearranged this map to suit their needs. Even if the rotates are a little bit similar team to team, it's still going to come down to how Gio wants to play this. This is absolutely winnable. He has to look to his left, but Slippery has got the headshot from around the piano side of things. And again, it begs the question, would that round have been different if the team kill hadn't been there?
Maybe. Having a little bit of extra utility to try to take Solar with utility as opposed to bodies, with Bolo having to swing up and try to take gunfights, that could have been a bit of a difference.
It did kind of seem like Bolo and Merc were both about to swing up towards Solar and force the Jaeger out of position. And instead, what happens is the wrong player dies. The wrong player in that situation. It was meant to be the Jaeger because two players are about to storm up and clear him, and instead he stays alive for way longer in the round than he was meant to and ends up being the deciding factor in the round as a whole. So instead, we're back and forth in this scenario. One round and one shot can tie this bad boy up. We still have yet to see either of these teams really do something out of the box, but they're playing around each other pretty well.
Yeah, both of these teams are playing phenomenally. Pretty much not a whole lot of mistakes going out on either side, and in a game like Siege, you can almost say it boils down to who makes the least amount of mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's always a great testament to see through when you're having the highest competition, trying to go to the biggest competition of, can you be perfect?
Yep.
Probably not, but you try to get as close as you can.
It's a game of inches. There's a lot of games out there that can call themselves game of inches, but the way it goes down in Siege is just something that's almost inexplicable. It's masterful to watch if done effectively and appropriately, if these guys know what they're doing, and both of them are giving the other a pretty darn good run for their money. In spite of TSM being the favorites, One-Shot is going toe-to-toe, blow for blow with the black and white Bastion. It's a nice thing to see. It's not just going to be, oh, One-Shot's going to get 2-0, the maps themselves are going to be close. Right now, TSM is getting a better fight from One-Shot than they did from PB earlier in the day.
Yeah, and that's something that we wouldn't necessarily have expected. And from this top-down clear, we saw it be difficult for TSM, but eventually come out.
They got there.
Hopefully eventually. But as the first nade's going to go through, down goes a shield. Swalen in this position upstairs, he went absolutely massive. He was the only reason that One-Shot won this round, popping off with a 4K. 2 upstairs and 2 on the late flank. And or if you're a TSM player, you're going to want to clear him. Swalen's going to be public enemy number 1. Drone him out, clear him out, put him in a body bag, relegate him to cams, whatever you want to do. Make sure that he's not alive for this late round.
Adrenaline surge incoming.
We'll see Bolo use that adrenaline surge to move himself upstairs, try to get something in bar stock, but he'll get knocked out by Quartz. And Swalen, another kill on the backside of things. That's 2 kills after just 1 minute and 10 seconds in this one. And now TSM has to completely rearrange themselves. Everyone's still holding the same spot. Slippery is not about to just let library control go by himself. Those impact frags might be the thing that already secures One-Shot their 5th round.
Yeah, they have half of the round to work with, and potentially half their roster, as Slippery's going to actually survive. Thought that nade was going to send him to a retirement, but instead, he gets to fall back to the bomb site and rejoin his peers down below. With top floor control for the side of TSM, could be interesting what they're able to do with it. Can they overcome this man disadvantage? Maybe. And a lot of that is going to rely on Merc, who's able to kind of put any pressure towards the bomb site. But he's also got these top-down angles to worry about. Swalen, he's peeking through the floor, and he's trying to get some kills.
Still retaining the high ground. Actual Obi-Wan moment. And Swalen is going to keep on holding those holes, even if TSM might be aware that they exist, and you can hold them from so many different spots. You don't know what side of those holes he's on. It looks as though TSM might have stalled at least a little bit. They're trying to handle a lot of things at once here, whether it be drones coming in and acquiring intel or getting stalled out by Rooney gates. This is going to be a very tall task. Merc might be able to just barge right into B and find a kill or two if the intel is good enough, and Achieved might help him out or at least give him coverage from that staircase in particular. Kilo is going to hold steadfast, as is the rest of One Shot. Here comes one in. Geo at least finds TSM's first kill, but again, not that much time left. He will get traded. There's Swayon from up top. Here comes Merc. He wants the kill, and he's going to find it, but the diffuser has to be retrieved. They might have just said, screw it, go for frags, and it's not going to work out in the end, as One Shot can just hold firm. Merc gets taken out of the equation. We have a tie ball game, Connor.
I liked the ideas in the early round for Bungalow to push through and try to get anything going early, catch One Shot off guard. But unfortunately, they were very much on guard.
Indeed.
They were very much on guard, and they slapped down that immediate pressure early on and really got in the hands of TSM. This is a tied-up game. The lead that TSM carved out for themselves, it's completely gone. And now we're going to see a timeout.
Finally, we're seeing a timeout. I didn't know if we would see this maybe from One Shot a little bit earlier, but they didn't have to use their own tactical timeout to bring things back into a 5v5 or 5 rounds to 5 rounds.
Defensive side of Chalet, maybe.
I think in this case, probably, but still, I think it's impressive that One Shot didn't have to use theirs to tie the ball game up like we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and for the side of TSM, they're really going to have to theorycraft just a little bit more, where things got a bit interesting over towards Kitchen.
Yeah, a little bit.
Last time we saw it. Even on their defensive side, pretty much this entire round, every round has been so incredibly close except like one.
Yeah, I think so. And more of it is kitchen-oriented than we expected it to be, even if the site itself isn't kitchen.
No.
Like, that might be the catalyst. It's almost like when you played on Border and everything relied around Armory. In this case, it's just kitchen. That's really the main catalyst for how these rounds are playing themselves out, unless you're in a clutch factor scenario like we saw Geo to start with, or Chalet coming back in round 6 and making sure he didn't die to the hands of Quartz. It's a good game so far between both of these squads, and it does look as though we are jumping back into game post One Shot timeout, 5-5. How does TSM use that timeout to their advantage? It's Pojo. He's got something to work with. He and Data should have been concocting some things in the lab for several months in preparation for these qualifiers. The question is what?
Yeah, they just have to replicate what they did last time on their kitchen, where it was pretty dominant. And Merc even hit a little style points shot onto Swaylin and the Orcs going for this flank. Ever since the defensive side swap has hit, Swaylin has been a lot more active, a lot more of a win condition for the side of One Shot, getting in those gunfights early and often, and maybe even with the mute jammers that we saw last time, really slowing down the push of TSM. Even though they were able to eventually get them, maybe that's kind of one of the only things you can improve on for the TSM attack. Make sure that you can get office control and master control just that little bit quicker, and maybe go down below and push the site a bit faster. But as the spawn peak's coming out for Swaylin, he's going to get dumpstered by Merc.
He tried.
He did.
He had an angle he liked. That's an angle everyone tries to. Oh, wait! Kilo was still on the same angle? We still lost Merc? Oh my god! Who thinks to re-peek a spawn peak angle like that?
Kilo does.
Yeah, he really does. That man wants to get back into a high-tier competition as badly as anyone has ever wanted it. Good lord.
I am still mentally recovering from the fact that it was a double spawn peek from the same window. Kilo's like, Swaylin, move out of the way. This is my angle to peek, and down goes Merc. Down goes those Twitch drones that were very impactful. Got rid of Goyo shield. Helped to really draw the attention of Slippery towards that door, and as soon as pressure from Ivy as well as Windows started coming through, made things a lot easier for TSM to start working up on this top floor.
You can still open the top of office wall, at least right there, just because the mute jammer has been placed there, but the top of the wall is something that either the ace charges or the Habana pellets will be capable of giving them maybe a nade hole or something, maybe a line of sight all the way down from like top fireplace or something. But that is still going to be something you have to deal with maybe from down below if Chief wants to nade on up, and he will. Goyo shield gone in addition to said mute jammer, so that wall is going to get open. Maybe a half wall plan is in the works here for TSM. In spite of losing Merc, they've still got a lot of utility. 3 nades are still left. Ability to drone is very abundant. There's a lot of time left for them still to work with, so One Shot need to be vigilant here.
Yeah, you can have all the top floor pressure you want. However, the transitionary period down to the bomb site below, that's what truly matters, because there's still a whole lot of people left alive, and 3 of them are sitting inside Solar for this potential retake. As soon as TSM starts getting comfortable inside their newly acquired land, I think there's going to be some sort of call for Kilo and the boys to just rush on in. The win condition, it's this top floor pressure. They do not want to fully relinquish it, but Chala's there for the cutoff. Down goes Kilo, as well as players rotating towards the backside. That was Slippery going back to the bomb site.
Whoa!
And somehow Storms wins that gunfight against Bolo.
Storm's going to hold on to top solo now with his life, if possible. 2 players now on this angle. Chalet knows about it. How can he and Achieve make sure this doesn't go their way? Achieve gets 1, but Storms is still in position to refrag. Chalet's got a bit of a tall task. He can reclaim Diffuser, but both players now have rotated away from site, and they can just hold these floor angles. They know how they've opened this up, and TSM, despite droning, probably won't have enough intel for Chalet to make this work. He's the clutch god, but he's got 20 seconds to find 2 kills, and they're not about to give him an easy hatch kill. He may have to drop here. Quartz is going to hear this. He can swing, but he doesn't have to. Storms is going to take the long angle against him, and one-shot LFO are on map point on their opponent's map pick.
And that was a gunfight that Bolo's going to want back. That's going to be one that haunts you in your dreams, because that very well could have been the catalyst for the entirety of that defensive retake situation, the hold on to Solar.
Peak, that re-peak was going to be the thing that won one shot around against TSM.
Crazier things have happened. A 1-for-1 trade for the defense. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
usually
within like the first 20 seconds or so.
Hey, and you take off Merc, who's been definitely shooting, and those Twitch runs have been incredibly impactful.
Yeah, a couple of times where Merc, especially on defense, was the first death for his squad. He's also going to want the fight on the spawn back. If he could have it, he would absolutely take it. But now TSM find themselves down, not winning the round immediately following their timeout. One shot still not needing to use theirs. They're beginning to coast a little bit. I still think TSM is playing to the teeth. They've got an idea about how they want to execute. One shot's being a little bit too disruptive for their own good.
Yeah, and last time we saw this bomb site, it did go the way of One Shot's defense. Sure, there was a little bit of help from a TK. But as everything else stood, One Shot did have a pretty good idea of what TSM wanted to go for. It was a full Solar take with not really any allocation towards any other side. All the eggs were indeed in one basket for TSM. That basket got knocked over, all those eggs splattered everywhere.
Aside from them opening up office wall, and then just like they used it really only to hold a long angle, not to move into it. If they tried, they got shut down. That Solar take was a nice idea, but in the end, it still did not meet with anything substantial. But now, maybe the fact that we're going up to top floor means that because the roam can't be as potent above bomb, means that TSM have a shot here. It'll take a little bit of ingenuity, but they need considerably less time on a floor above the bomb site because that simply doesn't exist here. They can work laterally from top to the bomb essentially whenever they feel like they've got enough coverage or enough drones, but they have to clear players out of very strong spots. Kilo on top fireplace is about to be one of them, and Slippery top library. Both of them are the main pillars of this roam so far for One Shot.
Yeah, completely different takes meet completely different defenses. The reads from One Shot have been so good, knowing where TSM are going to be entering from and making sure that all the map control that they get, it's paid for with blood. Unfortunately, this first one that goes out towards two members of One Shot. Bolo goes massive on the 2-for-1. Down goes Kilo, down goes Slippery. Just the anchors of One Shot remaining. As TSM, they don't seem to want to die yet.
Now that trade between Bolo and Kilo is nice. Bolo managing to use that Finka boost to make sure two opponents went down essentially in tandem, so that is a nice 2-for-1. At the end of the day, everyone on TSM is capable of fragging if they need to, but they'll have to make sure Swalen and Quartz don't really get their guns roaring in the last stages of this round. They want to claim this one, force overtime, and then worry about what happens from there, especially if they're going back on defense where they did win a majority of those rounds.
Yeah, and down goes the Vulcan shield as Quartz is feeling the heat, quite literally. Sir Swalen also has a shield over towards the bathroom bend, but that shield might not be as impactful as the one on Piano would have been. The wall, it's open. The half-wall plant can come through. The rotation towards the window, that's next on the docket for Merc to completely bisect this bomb site and cut off any long angles and potential nitro play. But that position, it gets red. Swalen bodies Merc, drops him straight down, and keeps this one even.
Two players back still again towards office wall. There may have been a rotate here. I think all three players now from TSM are about to take things from the same angle, with the exception of Achieved, who might try to get on that big window rotate and see if he can't catch either Quartz or Swalen out close to this doorway. So he wants this crossfire. The other two members of TSM still trying to take back towards library and office wall if they can handle it. But man, that nitro cell was perfectly done. Swalen's going to come back through the rotate, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. 2v2 with 20 seconds. Not favorable for TSM. They're still going to try to make this work out.
out, but the double door is gonna find 2 kills. Quartz puts TSM in the dirt. They take their own map selection and they put themselves up in the upper bracket final.
Wow, the reads once again. Completely different take from TSM. No solar, no nothing. All from the big window as well as the library side.